engine and 2.5 miles for that aerial ladder truck, because they have two totally different functions. The pumper engines are the firefighting component. They have water on them. They can handle all that stuff, where aerial devices were designed for rescue, extrication, ventilation, salvage and overhaul. They're kind of the cleanup guys that would create an environment in the firefighting world for the engine guys to get in. And there's always a battle between the two, because the truck guys say they're the ones that really keep everything moving, and the engine guys say, yeah, we put out the fire. I was an engine guy all my life, so I'm an engine guy. My deputy chief is a truck guy who fight all the time. So anyway, so this is what ISO says. You get 1.5 miles. So we take out now sophistication of GIS mapping and stuff now. We actually can do this very quickly. But in the early days, when we were doing ISO ratings, we would take a map on a wheel and we would do this, turn the corner, stop. That's where we plug that one in. And you would calculate out how you do that. Now, great mapping tools now that we have, we can plot this out very quickly. But you can see a lot over Grand Dominion, over by the golf course and Steeple View, all that, or Steeple Chase, all that area. Down on this end, I didn't put Station 2 in because I didn't want to cloud this, but our engine coverage is pretty decent. Our aerial coverage is okay, but it's starting to, you know, as the community moves out a little bit, you see out here, Target, and what is now, thankfully, going to be our Rubloff development, we're not covering that. We will lose massive points on that because of the commercial setting that's out there. But that's not uncommon. Again, I don't want to paint the picture of woe is me. It's just that we have to plan for that, and we have to start looking at it. Nobody. We do. We get there. We just get there later than what they want, because what they've done is they've taken 1.5 miles and said that's a reasonable time frame up against the growth of a fire. There's a time temperature curve. I can get you all in this technical stuff, but I don't want to do that. There's a time temperature curve that calculates out why we can go 1.5 miles. Now, that 1.5 miles is an interesting thing. That 1.5 miles standard has been in place for over 27 years. And traffic patterns and congestion and all those factors are never built into this. And there's a lot of suspicion that that may get shrunk in the near future when you look at a typical suburban setting. ISO is trying to be more dynamic with how they're doing their rating schedule. Now, the other thing we can go through, and law enforcement has done it here, is another benchmark is accreditation. And I won't get into all that, but that's kind of more the business end of it. As you can see, between dispatch, fire department, and what's the other one?
Water.
Water supply. Might be a test question. I don't know for sure. But between those three, you can see that's very much the operational end of things. The business side of it is the accreditation model. And that's where we go through our Fire Prevention Bureau records and things like that. So you can see this is a very difficult thing for a lot of communities to meet. Test time. How did I do time? Oh, that's not bad. Not bad. Okay. All right, and now, because I've cheated a little bit, you got to raise your hand. This is just like back in school, okay? First one I recognize. All right, I'm just going to let you read the question because I got to watch who raises their hand first.
Pumper. I'm sorry.
Fire department. Water.
Ah! See, you did it. That's
Fire
very
department
good.
dispatcher.
Yeah.
Water.
She took her notes out. Give her a big hand.
Yay.
This is the first mug.
I love that.
Oh, wait! There's another question.
Pumper.
Ah, look at that! Wow!
I knew it was going to work.
You were looking at me. There must have been a glare on the screen.
He's giving the same answer to 5 questions.
Okay, now wait, we got it. We'll pull the last one. We'll pull the last one from the tickets. But I really talked fast. So does anybody have any questions? And I have one other thing because we were talking earlier. Two. What was the other one?
CERT.
Oh, CERT. I got to talk about CERT real quick. Solicitations about the fire department or law enforcement, for that matter. We do not solicit money through call services, whatever you want to call them, in order to raise money here. The only thing that we do from the fire department standpoint is we send out a mailer every year for a pancake breakfast where you can buy raffle tickets, and it's got Mundelein Fire Department on it. If you get calls from solicitation services saying that your house will burn down if you don't give us money, and I'll tell you a horror story, and I'll try to keep the flavor or the colorful English out of it. I actually had a solicitor tell a homeowner, this was not in Mundelein, it was back when I was in Buffalo Grove, your effing house is going to burn down and we will not effing come if you don't give us money.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding you, they get brutal.
Wow.
They are fundraising services, and I don't want to try to create any disparate values against anything. They are fundraising services for local unions.
Yeah, Fraternal Order of blah,
Right.
blah, blah, what, yeah, 'cause I live in
Fraternal Order of
Buffalo.
Police.
Yeah.
I live in Buffalo Grove, and we did get calls
Right.
like that. And,
Oh, we got hammered down there. It was bad for a few years. What happens is the local unions, and we do have one for the fire department and for law enforcement, they will hire companies
Right.
to solicit money from residents. Might not even be from that town, but they typically try to do that. And then they get like 3% of what they actually take. They'll sell everything from concert vouchers to you name it for whatever. Don't spend your money there. Okay, we do a mailing on the pancake breakfast here. Most departments don't even solicit money anymore. If you get anything, it's going to be on Village of Mundelein letterhead. And it'll be authorized by the mayor and our board of trustees that says it's okay to do that because that's what we do. But it's not going to be cold call solicitations. You're just not
Tell
going to
them
get
you
that.
donate locally.
Yeah, and that's the best thing to do, say, I'm really sorry. Or I'll be more than happy for you to use my name and say, oh, well, I know Chief Sashko, and they usually go, click. You know, I love it when I get them. Because I ask him questions for a half an hour just to keep him on the phone to annoy him. I do. I'm like, so what's this money going toward? Well, I thought they had this piece of equipment, and then I get into all this other kind of stuff, and it just drives them crazy. So ignore phone solicitation, and like Sybil said, you donate locally. CERT. We have a very young CERT program, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, and if you're not familiar with that, just Google CERT, C-E-R-T, and you'll find what's on the national level. Now, really important program in the community. We have about 23 members. It's about a 20-hour training course, and you become part of an emergency response program. And it was designed so that you would be a person within your neighborhood that could handle an emergency that would come up and be kind of a first responder. My quickie note of that, which we teach in the class, is if you go back to the earthquakes, when they had the World Series in San Francisco, and you look at most of the initial pictures that were out there, you did not see first responders that were law enforcement and fire. They were citizens. They're hauling fire hoses, they're doing everything they can. And that's where that program was born from. And California actually had a little bit of a version of it before that, but it really sparked it after that. So if you're interested in that, we run a program kind of as we have enough people to do it. Robin sits on the CERT team. We just activated them for the snowstorm last week. We did open up a warming shelter in Mundelein, had 28 occupants for over 24 hours. Not a single Mundelein resident. We had planned it for if we had an apartment complex that went down with power, which we did have some of them sporadically on the southeast side. ComEd did a yeoman's job of getting back the power. However, we had a bunch of stranded motorists that were going to Richmond, Round Lake, Lake Villa, you name it, to the north and northwest. So that CERT team staffed and stood up that whole shelter, and it's just one of the many things that they're capable of doing through their training. So if you're interested in getting involved with that, just call the department, let them know you're interested, they'll take your name and number, and then you'll go through this 20-hour training class. They have regular planning sessions, they do some trainings throughout the year. It is a little bit difficult, I will tell you right up front. I mean, we don't create disasters in Mundelein. I actually had a guy that was on a Barrington CERT team at the Illinois Emergency Management Conference, came up and said, hey, I know you're chief of Mundelein, you got a new program. Can I join your team? We're really bored in Barrington. And I'm like, well, I'm not like blowing buildings up or something, so there's something to do for our CERT team. I don't know. I mean, if you want to come up, you can. But it is an important piece of the emergency response puzzle that we need to create and have community awareness. We cannot do this on our own. There isn't a fire department, police department in the northwest suburbs that can just handle it all. And that shelter, which was in the basement of the fire station last Tuesday night, that could not have operated without a CERT team. I think we ended up with 12 or 13 12 volunteers that staffed it 24 hours, did food, intake, managing what's going on with people's cars, all kinds of stuff. So it was really, really a good exercise for them. And they do a bunch of other competition things and first aid competitions and things like that, so it can kind of be a fun thing. So that's CERT. The other thing that's in my picture here is my pet peeve. So I'll ask for your indulgence and help. We've got to train this community, and this is just last week, as you can tell, shoveling out hydrants. If I don't have fire hydrants, it's like a Chinese fire drill, no pun intended. If we pull up on the scene, I've got 500 gallons of water. That's it, on each of those vehicles. So I really need, we're going to try to get a program going with the Boy Scouts and some other groups around here. But if you see neighbors or whatever, we actually had somebody, one of our CERT members driving down the street who yelled out the car door to the neighbor the other night, said, hey, don't forget your fire hydrant, and went, eh.
Oh.
Geez, if I pull up with my rigs and go, eh, to your $250,000, $300,000 house, I think you're going to be mad at me. So,
How long does that 500 gallon
Last.
Well, most of our tips run 100 to 125 gallons.